Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about a continuation of the last video, which was about glosses. Now, as I mentioned before, I'll pop this page back up again. This is the most important thing you need to understand. Dog Latin is the debtor side of a contract or a trust, because you cannot read the name. And the creditor side, which the mineral and energy wealth comes from, is the correctly written Christian name or English name or Cyrillic in any case. Now, what happens when you accept a Dog Latin debtor name that cannot be read, that is in hieroglyphic text, is that name is considered a straw man. It is something outside of you, like a voodoo doll. Think of it as that. Voodoo dolls do not constitute you, but they have a quantum connection to you. They can affect you from a distance. This is black magic at its finest. So, a straw man, by legal definition, means a weak or flawed person. And in this case, person is talking about a corporation. Persons are corporations. It comes from the word persona, which is mask. That's why they ask you in the court which face is showing today, which person is showing today. So, a weak or flawed person with no standing, also called man of straw. Interesting, right? Well, that's what you are. A man of straw. You have no consciousness. You are a doll. That's what it's talking about. A straw man is a form of augment and an informal fallacy of having the impression of refuting an argument, whereas the real subject, the living man, of the argument was not addressed or refuted, but instead replaced with a false one. That is your legal name. This is your legal name. And that's how they usurp all of your money. They put you into a trust. So let's go and try to explain this trust. I'm going to explain it in the most simple way I can. Although it is very complex, this is probably the best way to explain it. Okay, so we'll start here. You are born a creditor. You come and you have the mineral and energy wealth that comes with the land that came from God's source, most eternal. You come from this. You are part of it. You are not immaterial in this state right now. Although, if we look at it in the deeper aspect, you are. But you are a creditor. You have access to the mineral and energy wealth of the land. Now, at the time of birth, when the parents are accepting and registering your name and accepting this Dog Latin debtor name, because you are in debt in the system, you are dead, you transfer all of the mineral and energy wealth to the Vatican, to the bank. And how this happens is what's called, I'm going to look it up. This is usufruct. I think that's how you spell it. Usufruct. The definition is the right to use, the right to the use and profits of something belonging to another. Well, that's exactly what they're doing. Okay. Let's look up a definition right there. That's perfect. The legal right of using and enjoying the fruits or profits of something belonging to another. Well, they're using your profits, all right. How do you think the Vatican has all that gold? And the Queen of England, or the King of England now, and the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. Well, this is what they did. They got you into this. So, let's go back to this. You're born here in the creditor side with your Christian name, the one that you're supposed to be using, and that's the one that can be read and has the consciousness behind it that can read the name and has access to the money. And your parents sign you over through what's called an apostille, which is a letter from an inferior court to a superior court. I'll show that in a minute. To the Vatican or any bank, because they're all owned by the same entity once you start looking at the registrations. Then, you live your life out, you start growing up, you go through school, and there comes a time when you need to take out a credit or a loan from the bank, right? So what happens is you ask the bank, the Vatican, or any central bank, or any bank that you might own, or that you might have an account in, a cognomen account, and they give you a certain amount of fiat currency credit, right? It doesn't have any value. They don't tell you how much it's worth. It's pretty much what they say it's worth. And then they ask for interest. You have to pay it back. So you're paying all of the money back, right? You're paying the fake money back, the one that has no value, because you are in debt. You are in debt to the Vatican and to yourself. But what happens is, because there is an interest to this, you're paying the interest of both this creditor side that you do not know exists. This creditor side does exist. They need to keep a record of this stuff. And you are paying back the money to them. Both times. Once to them and once to yourself. Although they've already had the mineral and energy wealth, all of the gold and all of the silver, they don't lose anything. They own everything in this case through deceit. So what has to be done is you have to get yourself out of this, where you are a debtor and you're dead in the system and you have to pay back twice everything, and go back into the creditor side, to the living side. Now, if we look at this entire system as a ship, right? This is the head of the ship, the front of the ship, because we are in maritime law, contract law. You, on this side of the ship, are a crew member, or in this scenario, a pleb, the lowest class that you can possibly be on the ship. You're not even technically alive. You're in the underworld. But with the Christian name, and if you get the right birth certificate, because this happens with your birth certificate, the certificate of live birth, that's what you need to get. If you go back to this side, you become a passenger or a patrician on the ship. So you have the right to ask the Vatican for all of the mineral and energy wealth that you are owed from birth. That is your birthright. You have a right to ask for this. But this is the serpent, and the snake will do snake things. It's like getting mad at the shark, why it ate you in the water. It's just what they do. That's the nature of this reality down here. And when you get this mineral energy wealth back, or when you have control of it, you have the right to either leave the ship and go back onto the shore, or stay on the ship as a patrician creditor and enjoy your life. This is the system of the ledger that I was explaining in the other videos. The ledger keeps an account. I'm going to draw it out right now for you guys. It keeps an account. Let's shut these off. Think of it like this. So, ledger. Dead side, living side, right? Okay, if you're using your Christian name, you can ask for, let's just say, $20,000 or euros, or whatever type of currency, of your money in mineral and energy wealth, gold, to be given to you. And then you have to put the transaction and tell them, okay, I used this much money from my account that was given to me as my birthright in fiat currency. And in this section, what happens is when you're dealing with the bank here, you have to pay it back, but you don't know that this side exists at all, and you pay it back twice because there's an interest rate on this side. Because you're technically dead, you're not a passenger. I know it might seem a little confusing, but that's how it works. This is a ledger system. This is how the entire system works. Okay, now we saw what usufruct means. Let's go to maritime law. Right, so it has an office of an admiral. Well, let's look at what an admiral is. Admiral, noun, the commander-in-chief. What's a commander-in-chief? Well, I know what a commander-in-chief is. I've heard of that before. It's a military dictatorship that we're in. The commander-in-chief of all the armies of state or nation. Oh, wow. Look at that. Who's the commander-in-chief of the United States? Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Right? This is how it works. You're in a maritime system, everyone. Now, if this is a admiral, well, what does the administration do? The administration administers authority, right? That's the whole point. Often capitalized, a group that makes up the executive branch of a presidential government, a government agency or board, the term of office of an administrative officer or body. Okay? Interesting. And it also means the management and disposal under court authority of the estate of a deceased person by an executor or administrator. The administrator in this case, or administration, we're going to talk about this in a little bit, is the Vatican. This is the ship, this is the sea, this is the equity that they hold. Your equity. It all belongs to you, the people, the living people, the living man and woman. Okay, so let's keep going. Now, when you're in this system, you become a pleb, which is known as the plebs or the commonality. That is the citizens. Every time you say you are a citizen, you are talking about plebs, plebe, the lowest form, the common man or woman. Well, it's actually not a man or woman. You're technically dead. But this is what you're saying when you say you're a citizen of somewhere. Yeah, of a nation. Now, citizen, a member of a free city or jural society possessing all the rights and privileges which can be enjoyed by any person, persona, mask, under its constitution and government, and subject to the corresponding duties. You have rights and privileges. These are not God-given rights. These are legal rights. They're policies that you have to follow. That's what a police officer is. They follow policies. Po is a petty officer. Let's look it up right there. Po. Where was it? Po officer. Maritime. Oops. I think it was petty. Sorry, guys. Petty officer of a navy, but it's also known as a Po officer. A Po officer. A police officer. The police, because only corporations need a lease in order to conduct their affairs. Okay? And the petty officer, the police officer, is checking on the accounts because you are an account on this system, in this system. That's what you are. Okay, so let's go back. Citizen. So you have privileges as a citizen because you are a corporation. You're incorporated, incorporeal. Okay, so when you use the nomen, which is the creditor's side, right there, that is your nomen. In the system that they're describing, a name, the name, style, or designation of a person. Which face, though? Well, if it's spelled correctly, it would be on the living side. That's what's going on. There's a difference between family name, the cognomen, and the nomen. Now let's look at cognomen. Cognomen is the first, middle, second name, and the last name, which indicates a gen or a tribe. Now this is very important because if you think about cognomen and you actually look at cognomen for what it means, it is a nickname. I think I had it open here, but we'll put it in right there. A family name or a surname, but it also means a descriptive nickname. It's a nickname because, you know, it's sign language. It could be anything you want. It's made up. You make it up as you go along. It's something that someone made up because it's all based on presumption. The whole entire system is presumption. But that's what your surname does. When you add that third name, it connects you to a nation or a tribe, a surname. The nation or tribe, because they're all corporations at this point, makes you a cognomen, a nickname. Anytime you're part of a nation, this is what they're talking about. Okay, so let's go back. There's also a agnomen, which is it's a name that's added on. It would be like Rocky Balboa, the Italian Stallion. The Italian Stallion is the agnomen. It's like a secondary nickname to the surname. Okay, now if we look at the maxims of law, these are very important. Very, very important. Let's duplicate this page so we can see the maxims of law. I suggest everyone go and read this because it'll show you a lot. And if you're looking at it through the perspective of you being dead in their system, everything starts to make sense. Okay, so if you can't read the name, words are indicators of mind or thought. Well, the words need to make sense in order, they need to have a grammatical structure in order for you to read them. So if you have no grammatical structure in your name, how can you have mind and thought reading something with no structure? Okay? Speech is an index of the mind, if you can read it. But if you sign it, if it's signed, that's not the speech we're talking about. Most deaf people don't talk. They just use their hands, right? Because they're not reading anything, they're signing things. Okay, so let's keep going. This is a very interesting one. There's many, but I'm just going to stick to a few right now. A fiction is a rule of law that assumes something which is or may be false as true. What this is saying is that if you accept the fiction of law, the straw man, the debtor, and all of the laws and their presumption laws that go with it, this is a contract, even if they are false, they become true and they affect you. This is the voodoo doll that I was explaining. The voodoo doll is not you. It's made out of straw, but it does affect you from a distance, the same way these regulations do that they've created. Okay? Where truth is, fiction of law does not exist. I'm going to read that again. Where truth is, you are the truth. Your true name is the truth, the one you can read, and the one that is connected to the Christ. Where truth is, fiction of law does not exist. Okay? There is no fiction without law. Remember what this was? Where was it? Maritime law. I am indeed Lord of the world, but the law is the Lord of the sea. Maritime jurisdiction. Okay. Fiction of law is wrongful as it works loss or injury to anyone. Well, that's an interesting one. It's wrongful because it can hurt you. That's what it's saying. But if you accept it, too bad for you. There's many that we can go through here, but we'll stop. I think I'm going to make a separate video specifically about this because these are extremely important. We're going to go into also how the actual structures of the documents work. Okay. Now, what is a pagan? Very interesting. Well, a pagan is a civilian. It also means someone who doesn't know how to read. That's what they're talking about here. Now, if we look at Gentile, okay, we're going to go here. Where was it? Gentile. A person of non-Jewish nation. Not saying anything about this. I'm just showing you what I've found. This is a word, and it's connected to all of this stuff. That's all I'm saying. It comes from genitalius in Latin, relating to a tribe or clan. Okay? A tribe or clan. Remember this? Tribe or clan. Surname. Okay, good. Now, we can keep going. So if the word goy or goyim, it's Gentile, that's what it's talking about. I'm not making it up. It's in the definition. I can't lie about this stuff. That's what it is. If you notice what, usually Jewish people, they use only two names. Well, this is what this is all about. I'm not saying anything. You guys can make your own conclusions about this topic, but this is what I found. Okay. Okay, so when we enter into this system, you become incorporated because you're a corporation. You are a corpus, a dead body. Okay? That's why the corporations rule us, because you are incorporated. What is incorporeal? Not corporal, having no material body or form. Well, you're not alive. You're technically dead, but you're also a piece of paper. If you go into that presumption, you're that ID card, or all the laws that go with the ID card. This is what incorporeal means, incorporated. So what happens when you incorporate? To unite or work with something already existent, that's you as the living man, so as to form an indistinguishable whole. This is the merger, the alchemical merger of the underworld and the living world. This is how they trick you into accepting this legal name, this voodoo doll. This is black magic at its finest. This is demonic, all of it. This is satanic. It's a very dark world that we live in, but this is what it is. Once you understand it, you can do something about it. To form a legal corporation, to admit to membership in a corporate body. Guys, it's literally telling you what this is. Okay, so let's look up what a corporate body is. Okay, so a plebiscite, pleb again, given the name plebiscite has been given to a vote of the entire people, meaning a whole bunch of corporations, an aggregate of the enfranchised individuals composing a state or nation. A nation. Okay, well, there was a specific thing that I wanted to find here about Goy. Oh yeah, there we go. Yiddish, Goy people of a nation. Okay? Nation. Nation. Remember that. Nation. Plebiscite. Okay, let's go back to the body corporate from the definition of incorporate. Remember, body corporate, because you're incorporated, you don't have a body. Where was it? There we go, body corporate. This term is equivalent. Body corporate is applied to private corporation aggregate, not including municipal corporations. So these are the guys that are a little higher up than you, because a little higher up than the legal name that you decided to take upon yourself, and they're controlling these legal names, but they're corporations as well. Okay. Now, private law, as I was explaining in the very first video, is basically the unification that's done in Unidroit. Now, if you go and read Article 2.1.1, they very clearly state in Unidroit, and do some research on what the family that created that organization is, Aldo Brandini. They clearly state in Article 2.1.1 about contracts. When two parties are agreeing in contract, these corporate bodies, what constitutes the contract? How does the contract work? And what are the obligations of that contract? Okay? Body corporate. A corporation. That's what it means. It's in the definition. A corporate body. A body corporate. It's the same thing. Oh my God. Okay. So, a body politic. Applied to a corporation which is usually designated as a body corporate politic. The term is particularly appropriate to a public corporation invested with powers and duties of government. It is often used in a rather loose way to designate the state or nation. This is a lie. Sovereign power. They're not sovereign. It's based on a presumption, so they can say that they're sovereign if they want, whatever. Or the government of a country or municipality without distinctly connoting any express and individual corporate character. So this is talking about political parties and such. But you need a body politic or a body corporate. You need individual aggregations of corporations to create a body corporate, or a body politic in this case. They're both the same thing. Body corporate, body politics, same thing. Okay. We're gonna stop it at that. You understood what a usufruct is and how this whole system works. We'll go into the top part. I'll make a specific video just about this, but I hope it's becoming a little bit more clear how this world is working. We are in the underworld. This is the upside down, guys. This is the upside down. You're not on land. You're in a ship, a really, really big ship. And the three control centers would be the Vatican, Washington, D.C., and the City of London. Okay? And that's how your life is being controlled. But we'll get out of this. Okay, thank you. We'll make another video about this topic next.